Welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to sell highly appreciated cryptocurrency, real estate, businesses, so you can defer the tax and grow your wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and sometimes blockchain and cryptocurrency minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He is a connector of thought leaders and doers in the blockchain space, and he helps to build diverse networks to achieve high impact goals. With 10 years of experience in business development, marketing, and operations, he fosters strategic partnerships and grows virtual and in-person communities. Armed with technical knowledge and industry expertise, he can speak to a diverse team of your grandma about the value of your tech stack or your dev team, which we're going to learn about what that means. He is an entrepreneur. He's from the great state of Wisconsin. If you've seen the show Silicon Valley, he looks like one of the cool guys on there. Anyways, welcome to the show with me, Dan Edlebeck. Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, how's it going? I'm great.
Excellent. Hey, great to get a chance to spend some time with you. You're out of your bunker in Puerto Rico. You know, anyone who's in Puerto Rico, who's for the ocean, the beach, or maybe even the taxes, we're a friend of. How is Puerto Rico these days?
Oh, it's awesome. I don't know if you can see my curly hair blowing a little bit, but there's an ocean breeze literally coming through my window. So it's something like 85 degrees, and I don't even have the AC on. I just have the ocean breeze taking care of the situation.
Phenomenal. And versus Wisconsin in the perhaps the winters, that's probably a stark difference there. But more on that later. But in the meantime, would you give our listeners a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brett. So I'm the CEO of XCIO. We're a software development agency. We're global, but we have a lot of our team in India. And so we're a blockchain development agency building tooling on blockchain-based networks. You might have heard of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Those are layer one blockchains, but they have certain limited capabilities. And there's a really interesting layer one blockchain called Cosmos, and it's focused on interoperability. So speaking from one blockchain to another blockchain, having the ability to communicate and interact. And we have helped build on the Cosmos blockchain our own native blockchain called the Sentinel blockchain. And what Sentinel is a peer-to-peer network for people to offer bandwidth to a marketplace and people to route their traffic through that bandwidth. So you can kind of think of like the Tor network or just a VPN. And so this peer-to-peer bandwidth network is the base layer framework. And then if you, Brett, wanted to start your own VPN company, and instead of running your own servers and managing them, you could leverage the Sentinel network that's already exists of peer-to-peer bandwidth and use that as your base layer infrastructure, and then be able to sell your VPN subscriptions to users in a decentralized and open source manner. So if you want to do that, you can hire my company, XCIO, and we can help you with the onboarding and the infrastructure and the integration onto the network.
Wow. And we're going to dive into those technicalities and try to unpack that for our listeners and for myself. And by the way, we're also going to talk about how that applies to blockchain-based infrastructure for your finances, right? And how to protect and build things that are going to be more, let's say, hacker resistant, because security of finances and transferring of funds is more important than ever with all of the attacks. So we're going to touch on that here in a minute. But Dan, I want to take one other step back, and I want you to take us back to the Wisconsin days. Perhaps it's high school, and you're in class, or even the university days, and your younger self. And I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. Some people call them strengths, some call them superpowers. But I'm curious, what are those one or two gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Yeah, well, I feel really blessed myself. Growing up in Wisconsin, growing up with a family that I feel very close with, I feel very fortunate to have 3 amazing sisters, 2 amazing parents, and we also took in foster kids. And it was just a home full of love and full of acceptance and full of encouragement. And one thing that I always look up to my dad, and I'm sitting here with my wife, and we're talking about having a family one day, and I really look up to my dad a lot, and the way that he carries himself and the way that he connects with other people. And the way that he was a father. And I want to be a father like him one day, but I do believe that I'm, trying my best to follow in his footsteps in connecting with people and understanding what makes people tick, what are people's passions, listening to people, and understanding who they are and kind of where they come from. So I like that you're kind of getting into my Wisconsin story. That's kind of how I always like to connect it with people as well. So I definitely think that understanding us as a humanity and taking the time to get to know one another is where I think my strengths lie. And I'm in a tech company. I'm not a tech leader, right? But I'm more the people person and can galvanize, and I can do the sales and the marketing and share the message.
Love that. Yeah. Connection. And it sounds like you had a good mentor and father and your dad who helped to teach about how to get to know and connect with people, accept people, encourage people. Is that a fair summary?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Awesome. Great. Now let's dive into blockchain-based infrastructure for your finances and/or unpack a little bit what you said in the very beginning about the practical application and you might even go ABCs like what is a VPN, right? Some people may not know what a VPN is, and why is it needed and what's kind of the challenge now, and then how are you solving that with what you're doing?
Awesome. Yeah. So VPNs are a widely adopted consumer product, right? Like people that use social media networks or use email. This is becoming a absolute product, especially as the world moves more online and we're operating remotely. We need to have secure networking online. We need to be able to get access to censorship resistant content. And VPNs are a means to do that. And so you've probably heard of ExpressVPN or NordVPN or TunnelBear. It's a really big and booming industry. I believe in 2016, it was a little like $15 billion industry. And last year it crossed 30 billion. In 4 years it had doubled. And I think by 2027, it's expected to be over $107 billion industry. So it's an incredibly exploding industry, but it has its own challenges. So use a VPN to be able to route your traffic through someone else's IP address. So I'm here in Puerto Rico, but maybe I want to get access to Netflix in the UK because it has a show that I don't have here on Netflix. I can connect to someone else's IP address in the UK and be able to route my traffic through that IP address. And now I'm able to get access to that content. And it could be something as mundane as access to Netflix content, or it could be something as important as access to Wikipedia or more authoritarian regimes that don't allow access to content. And that's the purpose of VPNs. And another purpose of VPNs is now when I'm routing my traffic through the UK IP address, my home internet service provider, Comcast or Verizon or AT&T, they are not the ones that have the exit node, the exit information about my metadata. So they can't be tracking on my internet usage and reselling it or doing whatever they want with that content. So I think that's really unique and it's really important. And so we're seeing a huge uptick in growth and demand for VPNs.
Got it.
But
so
the
now
big
let's talk about
challenge
XCIO. So let's go right into like what's the difference now? How with the blockchain infrastructure? How is XCIO kind of transforming that or making that better?
Yeah, exactly. You're right on point. So the centralized VPN structure that we're used to using Nord or TunnelBear, they now are the company that is at the end of the chain that could be selling and reusing your data. A lot of VPN companies claim that they are not logging data, and that they've even said that they've had third-party audits that prove that they're not logging user data, but you can't prove it. And actually, there's been a lot of hacks, and it's been proven that actually VPN companies, the one company we're trusting for our privacy online, is taking advantage of that and is logging our data or reselling our data. But in this infrastructure, in this architecture, with leveraging the blockchain in a peer-to-peer fashion, that's impossible. So there is no one company. I'm the CEO of XCIO, and we're a software development agency building on top of this network. But as a CEO of XCIO, I could not shut down the Sentinel peer-to-peer bandwidth network. So if you think of it like you and I could be routing my traffic through your internet connection, through your IP address. And so you would be offering a node to the network instead of TunnelBear offering it themselves. So with this peer-to-peer architecture, there is no one company at the end of the line that can shut down the network or can log user data. So the blockchain is used in this structure so that when you're offering a node, Brett, you're putting it up to the blockchain and you're posting the details of your node, your IP address, your throughput, your latency, all the details of your internet connection that I might want to route through, that's posted on the blockchain. And then the application I'm using will be an iOS app or be it on my computer. That's my VPN app that's connecting to the Sentinel network. The only reason it shows your IP, the details of your node, is because it's calling the blockchain via API and it's leveraging the information on the blockchain. So as long as the blockchain, the Sentinel blockchain itself stays active and it continues to produce blocks, then the information of all the nodes that are on the network will continue to exist. So it's a really resilient network.
Okay, so let me try to unpack that a little bit too, so make sure I understand it more. If it's one big group that's routing everything through, that one group potentially could be hacked Therefore, it's not diversifying the risk as much versus if it's peer to peers, right? Hundreds of thousands to millions of users, and it's routing smaller amounts of information or something else, and it's able to protect it. Am I unpacking that correctly, or what am I wrong there?
Yeah, for the most part. But the difference is that there is no company at all that can log user data in this peer-to-peer network. There is no, it's impossible.
Okay.
And it's impossible to shut down the network itself. So it's incredibly resilient and it's provably end-to-end encrypted.
Really cool, really cool. And then so now let's apply that to, or keep going on what else that you're helping people to do that. So we kind of get the technology, kind of the need there. So walk us through like, okay, someone's like, okay, I think I need that, or I want that, or I want a higher level of security versus just the traditional VPN. What does that look like by working with your company?
Yeah. So if you're an end consumer and you just want to have better security and privacy online, you should use applications that are leveraging the Sentinel peer-to-peer network. One of those applications is my company, XCIO. We've built an application called the Sentinel DVPN, and it's currently on iOS and Android, and it's also being developed on desktop. And we are actually upgrading our mobile applications right now. But you can go find those on the mobile app stores right now and download it. Another company is called Elysium, and they've built on the Sentinel network, on the Sentinel framework, and their application is called the Velocity VPN. So those are two VPNs. And in the future, other companies might want to leverage this infrastructure instead of building and maintaining their own infrastructure. And actually, there's cost benefit to doing so, right? The economies of scale, leveraging a global network. And if you want to do that, then you can leverage XCIO, and we can help you with that onboarding process and making sure that the application that you bring to market functions the way that you want it to.
Okay, very cool. And I want to just think, I have like McAfee, right, as the Norton antivirus, McAfee, Avast. There's different like, say software against malware to protection. So could you kind of separate the two, or walk through one versus the other and why you need both, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, you definitely need both. So a malware application or an antivirus application is scanning your computer for any attacks and protecting for any malicious activity on your computer. McAfee himself is a crazy guy, and obviously, rest in peace. But that guy was revolutionary in his day, and also was very active in the cryptocurrency space. But that is completely separate from a VPN. A VPN is to able to obfuscate your information online, and that your internet service provider like Comcast can't log and track you, and also to be able to get access to content you couldn't otherwise. I don't know if you've ever read a blog on Medium.com. Medium is one of the biggest blog websites on the planet, and anyone in Vietnam can't get access to all of the blogs on Medium.com. So we think of like China and the CCP and kind of their level of surveillance, but really there's levels of surveillance around the globe that deny people access to free information and sovereignty online. A VPN provides you access to that.
Got it. So we're getting some freedom for information, freedom from our data being logged, sold, and perhaps taken advantage of. And
Exactly.
is that a fair summary so far?
100%.
That's really cool. I love it. And I love the application of blockchain and crypto in the world that is changing rapidly, and the old way of doing things versus the new way. Anything else to add on XCIO, and even maybe a company or someone like who's your ideal customer right now? Like if you say they have this, and this is what they're looking for, and I can help you right now with that.
Yeah. So there's two customers. B2C, so anyone that's looking for a VPN application and wants to be able to have access to better privacy and better access to content online. The applications that we built, the Sentinel DVPN, or even other applications that have been built on the Sentinel network, that would be any consumer that's looking for a VPN. And there's hundreds of millions of people around the globe that are using VPNs. The other customer would be our B2B. And that would be any company that already exists as a VPN company, and they want to move their infrastructure into managing all their own nodes and using cloud servers that could potentially shut them down and are expensive, to leveraging the Sentinel peer-to-peer bandwidth network as their base layer infrastructure, or any entrepreneur that wants to start their own VPN company and wants to leverage this network to be able to build VPNs for their product, for their customers.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's talk about that last one, because that's kind of fascinating. I didn't think about that. I mean, you kind of mentioned it before, maybe a little bit, but let's dive into a little bit deeper. So I have a company, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, right? And I have clients and strategic partners. And so what would be the advantage for me offering that to my clients, customers, and strategic alliances?
Sure. Well, I think you'd have to look into your business model. If building a tech solution like a VPN is something that your audience or your customers would be interested in, then if you want to build a VPN or you want to bring that product to market, this is a perfect solution to do so. You have a growing, robust peer-to-peer network, and you're not relying on building up your own cloud servers. Another challenge that actually happens is if you were to go, independently and say you use Microsoft Azure or you use AWS as your base layer infrastructure that are hosting all your nodes, you might start getting pinged as a VPN company. And so the IP addresses that you're using to offer to your user base to be able to route their traffic through are getting blacklisted as IP addresses that are associated with a VPN. And now when I want to route my traffic through Netflix and be able to get access to the UK's Netflix, I can't with your service because your service is already getting identified as a VPN that is blacklisted from Netflix. So it's not only it's a cheaper and it's more resilient, but it has a longer it's got a more robust infrastructure to be able to build a business.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of the connection here too. So we have like online educational like portals where people log in and learn about what we do. We have, the podcast, we have the YouTube channel, we have different videos, ebook, different things, but a lot of it's service based. It's not necessarily, all the funds are transferred via banks and, big financial institutions. So we don't like hold the money at where we're at. Like everything's protected outside of us. But so I don't know if that's, if you say, well, we can use the VPN for your internal logins for educational platforms, would that be a good application to that or no?
Yeah, you could build your own white label VPN for the Capital Gain Solutions podcast or for your user base, and it could be branded as your VPN. Or you could just point your users to say, hey, I recommend that you use this VPN to have a better private experience online. But that could be up to you. But media agencies that have a large user base, that might be something they natively offer. We're starting to see web browsers. I don't know if you know a Brave browser. It's actually a blockchain-based browser started by the founders of Mozilla, and really, really impressive tech. And they're offering native VPN directly in the browser. And so we're seeing more web-based and media agents services that are looking to provide better solutions and product offerings to their users. So a VPN is definitely within the wheelhouse.
Cool. Absolutely love it. And by the way, you can learn more about Dan Edlebeck, XCIO.com. I'm going to spell it for you. EXID, actually, XCIO. I'm sorry. No T. I know you want to put that T on that D, but it's EXIDIO.co. Again, EXIDIO.co. Dan, the name XCIO, give us, A, make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then two, what was the reason behind the name?
Yeah, that's right. It's XCIO. It's a mix of Latin words, meaning shield and meaning defense. And I wanted to have something that is unique, probably would do well with search engine optimization because it's unique in its name, and also has meaning behind what we're doing. So the network that's built on is the Sentinel network, right? A guard that guards your privacy, guards your security, and provides sovereignty for you online. And in that same vein, I wanted to find something that had those same roots, and look to a Latin dictionary to kind of figure out where the North Star was.
I love it, man. I think it's really cool. It's really fascinating. I'm a total newbie in that whole world, but I'm willing to learn, right? I want to learn. It's really cool. So let's shift a little bit now to, and curious what your takes are on this. We'll test your knowledge here. When it comes to kind of the infrastructure for finances, right? So we kind of talked about VPN, the challenges with it, selling information data, and then now building the infrastructure for perhaps your finances. So maybe we can, how would somebody apply what you've been talking about for their finances, for how they have their money, for, I guess, cryptocurrency trading? Like, give us the practical application of XCIO for building a blockchain-based infrastructure for your finances.
Yeah, so that's definitely not a core focus of XCIO's. It's something that I can speak of. XCIO is on a core piece of what I define as the Web 3.0, or the decentralized web. You were talking about how blockchain is disrupting a lot of industries, and we're actually doing that actively in the VPN space, right? So instead of having one company that's centrally controlling all of their servers, we're decentralizing that, leveraging the power of the network, the power of the people, and the infrastructure that we already have at our homes. And so if you offer a node, Brett, to the network and offer your excess bandwidth to the network, and I route my traffic through your network, you actually earn tokens, DVPN tokens, which are blockchain-based crypto tokens that you can use and trade, and you can use to pay for VPN. You can sell them on the open market, and so they're a financial asset. So this is a process and a project that offers native passive income for people that are using their excess resources. So instead of putting your house up on Airbnb and earning revenue that way, or putting your car up on Turo and earning revenue that way, you're putting your excess bandwidth up to this marketplace and earning revenue that way.
Dude, that's really cool. It's really fascinating. I got my buddy who's building out these Ethereum units, he calls them, right? And he's looking for like the lowest cost electricity in the area. And I live in Roseville, and we have like a city-owned utility, so it's like half the cost of most places around here. And he's like, I gotta get a place in Roseville so I can like get all my units set up. I'm like, your units? He's like, yeah, we're mining Ethereum. I'm like, oh, that's incredible. And he's telling me this whole thing. And so what you're saying is, well, not only can you do that, right, which you may have some thoughts on, but second, you can basically use your excess bandwidth to, I guess, loan out or give to people who need it or want it. Exactly. And then in exchange, you get tokens, and then those tokens can turn into money.
Exactly right. So instead of mining Ethereum, leveraging ASIC miners or GPU miners, you're using your excess bandwidth, your already existing modem in your house, and you're mining DVPN tokens. You're mining your bandwidth, and you're supplying that to a network, and you're generating passive income.
And it's safe, right? Like you would put yours up tomorrow. You'd be like, hey, or it's already up. You're already doing it.
Yeah, it's safe, but you definitely want to make sure that your node has consistent uptime, that you're able to provide a stable connection to the network, and then you want to think about making sure that this is the right thing you want to do. If people are routing their traffic through your node, you're not able to see them or see what they're doing or stop what they're doing, right? So there has been legal precedent that's been set that if there is nefarious activity that's going through someone's IP address, and you just simply comply with the authorities if the authorities were to come to you, and you explain that you show that you're part of a distributed network and you're not personally held liable for that content. And that's similar to the Tor network, which already exists. So this is like the Tor network, which you may or may not be familiar with, but it's an incentivized Tor network.
Fascinating. Again, it's like a whole nother part of my brain exploded here. And so, okay, so just hypothetically, like I'm sleeping, right? Between this hour and this hour, my whole family is. We're not, not on the iPads, not on the Netflix, not on whatever, right? Not on the computer. So I can say like, hey, between this hour and this hour, like we're not using it anyways, go at it. And I mean, maybe we have no cap where we live, or we pay a big money for unlimited amount of bandwidth. What's the downside?
It's just that this hasn't been accomplished and done yet, and it hasn't scaled. This is the power of decentralized networks. And this is what we call the Web 3.0. And this is where we're headed. And just like you need to protect yourself in the analog world with your finances and with your security, you need to protect yourself in the metaverse, in the Web 3.0. And we're moving towards a digital world, and we're moving towards digital art and digital finances. And I don't know if you've heard of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. China's already far ahead with their digital yuan. The United States is developing a digital dollar. And we think of the dollar as already digital, right? You can transfer from your Schwab account to your JP Morgan account. It's digital in that sense, but it's not truly digital. It's not digitally native like Bitcoin is. But we're moving central bank digital currencies digitally native. And the DCEP, the Chinese digital yuan, is already multiple years in the making. And our world is moving digital. And you need to be able to secure yourself in the digital world just like you are in the analog world.
So amazing. Wow. I can see how you're changing the world with what you're doing, Dan, and your brain and your expertise is needed. So very cool. Okay, so now let's take another little shift, and we're going to apply it to capital gains tax rates, because people are going, "What? Why am I listening to this?" Well, it's going to all come together right now, right? Because A, it is your finances. A, it's protection. B, it's building your business. Hopefully, you're seeing all those things. We don't just talk about capital gains tax here, right? But we do have one question, and it's a big question we try to ask every guest. It's this, Dan, what's the biggest frustration for yourself, friends, or family when it comes to selling, highly appreciated cryptocurrency and deferring capital gains tax? And you might say, Brett, I haven't sold yet, or I haven't, I paid a bunch of tax, or we don't have a good solution. But does anything kind of come to mind when it comes to the capital gains tax on the sale? You live in Puerto Rico, so maybe you're already way ahead of us on this.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that I think about a lot, and I'm very heavily involved in making sure that I'm being smart about my finances. I'm reporting all of my um, income, and in the cryptocurrency space. So let's just say, we were talking about you're mining your bandwidth, you're offering bandwidth to the network, and you're getting paid DVPN tokens. You're getting those at a zero cost basis. So you're essentially received as standard income, as taxable reportable income versus received as capital gains appreciation. So you need to be smart about your structuring of how you're dealing with cryptocurrencies. So your buddy that was mining Ethereum, right? That's called a proof of work system because he's physically doing work. The computer's physically doing work to mine these Ethereum. But actually, I don't know if you know, but in 2022, Ethereum is switching. He's no longer going to be able to mine Ethereum. That's going to stop. It's switching to proof of stake instead of proof of work. And in a proof of stake system, you put your Ethereum up and lock them in a contract, in a smart contract. And in doing so, they're no longer a part of the circulating supply. So you're artificially decreasing the circulating supply, which can potentially have positive impacts on the price because there's less that are circulating, less that can be sold. And in doing so, you earn a return for putting those tokens up for staking. And what you're doing is securing the blockchain instead of by doing proof of work with ASIC miners and hardware miners. You're doing it by staking your tokens. And that's actually the same architecture that the Sentinel blockchain is on, the DVPN tokens are on. And when you stake your tokens and you secure the network, you're earning that reward. You're earning your staking rewards. It's essentially like if you had a high interest savings account, but you need to pay standard income for those capital gains. So you need to be very intentional about the income that you're receiving and how you report that accurately and making sure that you're in kosher with the IRS. And actually, my biggest frustration is the lack of transparency and the lack of clear lines that our U.S. regulators have put in the sand in this cryptocurrency ecosystem. There's a lot of gray area. And actually, this was the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill that was just negotiated in the Senate was held up by multiple days. And one of the biggest reasons it was held up was actually the advocacy of the cryptocurrency space. Held that bill up for multiple days because a law passed that is completely illogical and it makes no sense. And that's because of the lack of information and the lack of education of congressmen and women. And they put a law into effect that is impossible. And so if you are, like your buddy, mining cryptocurrency, he soon, as of 2023, if this law were to go into effect and it doesn't get changed, will be considered a money transfer and need to apply for a broker-dealer license and need to apply 1099s for everyone that is buying the Ethereum tokens that he's mining, which is literally impossible. And this was just passed in Congress. So my biggest frustration is the lack of transparency, the lack of clarity, and the lack of education of lawmakers. And it's a lot. It's not just, the House or the Senate. It's FINRA, it's the SEC, it's the CFTC. Bitcoin is a commodity, but then other cryptocurrencies sometimes are considered securities. It's very gray, and we need to get more clarity so that we're able to operate. A lot of companies and a lot of innovation has left the United States. My company, we're out of the British Virgin Islands, and we're operating our other subsidiary in India. And we don't really operate in the United States because the policy is not friendly to this innovative technology. And so that's my biggest frustration. And I think I'm probably echoing everyone in the cryptocurrency ecosystem in saying that that's the greatest area for opportunity and the thing that lawmakers should get right. You don't want to stifle innovation by shutting it out. I'll say one last thing. This happened in China very recently. All of the miners have been exiled from China. China made it illegal for your buddy that's mining Ethereum. If he was in China, he'd be gone. Over, I don't know how much it is, 100 billion, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars that exited the Chinese economy because they made that process illegal. And some have gone to Mongolia, some have gone to nearby countries. Some of them shut down their business forever. Some of them are moving, a lot of them are moving to the States. States is trying to be friendly in this space, but it still has a lot of area for growth as far as clarity and regulation.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dan. That's, I feel like you should be sitting at Congress or the Senate and giving that dissertation, right? And breaking that down because because it's the future. It's here. It's already happening, and the stakes are high if we don't get this right, right? And we don't want to stifle innovation and technology where the world's going, and you're having to go to the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and India and move out, but the future's here, and I hope they do create more transparency and more clear lines, and they get educated and they get their act together. But that's a whole nother topic for another time. We're running out of time. But I do want to let people know, if you are listening to this and you're struggling with capital gains tax on the sale of highly appreciated Ethereum, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, we do have a solution called the Deferred Sales Trust. In fact, we closed our first one just 2 weeks ago. And it's the first one we know in the history of the Deferred Sales Trust. Deferred Sales Trust goes back 25 years, thousands of closes, billions under management. Basically, you can sell high, is something that's highly appreciated, and defer the tax. You can move it into real estate, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You can start a new company, business, ground up development, hard money lending. You can do a lot of stuff to create some cash flow and some diversification, all tax deferred. This particular couple, they bought Ethereum for $100,000, Dan. Check this out. They will get work to 13 million, 100,000, 13 million over about a 5, 6, 7 year period of time.
Not even shocking in our industry anymore.
And can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. And then it's worth 13, and they took about 5 million and they sold of the 13 or so, deferred it all, and they're investing, and it's going to be enable them to retire, to spend more time with their family, to get some cash flow, to get a little bit out of the highs and the lows of the Ethereum market. And that's a nice solution for those who are looking to sell. Again, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That being said, Dan, are you ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you can go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
Just enjoy the moment.
Second question, what's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
In the past year, I'm not even really sure. I think that You're a Badass by Jen Sincero is a really good book.
Perfect. Last question. How do you stay centered in your values and encouraged to charge forward to reach new goals after everything you've accomplished and everything you're building? What keeps you kind of centered and grounded?
I think that I'm always reaching higher. I don't get late. I don't get rest on my laurels. I get excited about every day. So when I wake up and I'm excited, then that's all I need.
Beautiful. Dan, for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to find you?
So you should come to my Twitter. It's and then it's D, and then 4 E's, DLE. So DEEEEDLE. Or you can just shoot me an email at dan@XCIO.co. You can check out our website.
Perfect. Dan, I want to thank you for being on the show, for sharing so much wisdom, dropping so much wisdom and knowledge on the crypto world, blockchain world. I want to encourage you to keep being a connector, a person who can love, encourage, and help people get freedom with blockchain, with finance, with crypto, all of the things that we talked about. And I want to also thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax referral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax referral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to exit cryptocurrency, business, real estate, and defer the capital gains tax so you can create and preserve more wealth. You go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We're also streaming on expert CRE secrets. If you're wondering why you're hearing that there on our second podcast channel, our second YouTube channel, it's because once the funds are there, as a commercial real estate broker, luxury realtor, and or M&A advisor, the funds can be used to buy more properties or more business. So it's a great way for you to grow your business. Again, go to expertcresecrets.com for that. Hey, thanks everyone for listening, and we hope that you got some knowledge today. Please rate, review, subscribe, share this with somebody who can help out